I never thought I'd find myself in a position where I'd have to question everything I believed about loyalty and love. It started like any other day, quiet and predictable. I was sitting in our small kitchen, the smell of burnt toast still lingering, when I noticed her phone buzzing on the counter. Her name flashed across the screen, Mike. I froze for a second, my stomach sinking. We'd been together for nearly 5 years and I never suspected a thing. She was humming softly, flipping pancakes, oblivious to my stare. The phone buzzed again, relentless, and I reached out without thinking. My fingers trembled as I grabbed it, unlocking her passcode with a little nudge of curiosity and a lot of doubt. The screen lit up with a message from Mike. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I've got something special planned." My heart hit a strange, cold drumbeat. I stared at the words, feeling a strange mixture of anger and disbelief. What the hell was she planning? I kept scrolling, and that's when I saw it. A series of pictures, her at a fancy hotel in bed with another man. Her hair tousled, lips half open, and her hand resting suggestively on his chest. My stomach clenched so tight I thought I'd throw up. She had been lying right under my nose and I hadn't seen it. My fists clenched so hard my knuckles turned white. I had known there had been subtle changes lately. Less intimacy, hurried excuses, and avoidance when I tried to talk about us. But I never imagined it was this deep. A part of me wanted to scream, to shout at her, but I just stood there, paralyzed, clutching her phone so tightly the screen cracked. For a second I wondered if confronting her right then and there was the right move. But somehow I knew I had to plan this carefully. I took a deep breath, the kind that makes your lungs ache, and slowly put her phone down. My mind raced. I had no idea how long this had been going on or how many times she'd been with him. My stomach twisted, a sickly knot forming. I felt the cold sweat bead on my forehead as I stared at the evidence, her betrayal plain and undeniable. What made it worse was the way she'd been so convincing. She'd been sweet, attentive, almost loving, until recently. I'd started noticing little things, secretive texts, hurried exits, her phone always locked. Now I knew her secrets, and I knew I couldn't just brush it off. Not anymore. I sat down at the table, my hands trembling so badly I could barely hold onto my coffee. I looked at her, still humming along, blissfully unaware. I wanted to scream at her, but instead I said, "Who the hell are you really, and what have you been hiding?" My voice was hoarse, barely more than a whisper. But inside, my mind was already spinning plans. I couldn't let her get away with this. I had to do something for me, for my dignity. I didn't know yet what the plan would be, but I knew one thing: this wasn't going to end quietly. She betrayed me, yes, but I was about to make sure she paid for it. The question was, how? I looked down at my fists, clenched tight, knowing this was just the beginning. The days that followed felt like walking through a fog. I couldn't get the images out of my head. Her lips pressed against that other guy, the way she looked so peaceful, so careless. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it again, like a sucker punch to my gut. I kept replaying that moment in my mind, trying to make sense of it, trying to figure out what I'd missed. But mostly I was furious. I started noticing little things: her phone always by her side, her quick glances when she thought I wasn't looking, the way she'd suddenly be too busy to talk. It all clicked into place, like a puzzle I'd refused to see before. I'd been so blind, so trusting. Now I couldn't believe I'd let myself be lied to this long. One night I finally confronted her. I figured honesty was the only way to go, even if that honesty was coated in rage and betrayal. I sat her down on the couch, my palms sweaty, voice tight. "Who is Mike? How long has this been going on?" I demanded. Her face froze, the color draining from her cheeks. For a minute she looked surprised, then defensive. "It's not what you think," she said, avoiding my gaze. "You're lying," I snapped. "I saw the messages, the pictures. Tell me the truth, how long?" My voice cracked, and I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to shake her. She looked away, fiddling with her hands. "It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything, I swear. Didn't mean anything." I cut her off. "That's the best you've got. You cheated on me and now you're telling me it's no big deal." My heart pounded like a drum in my chest. My stomach felt hollow, like my insides had been scooped out. "You lied for months and I just found out now." She looked like she wanted to say something, but no words came, just silence. I knew then I had to take control of the situation. I couldn't just accept her apology and move on. No, I had to do something smarter, something that would make her realize how much she'd thrown away. The next day, I started planning. I knew I needed concrete proof, something that would hit her where it hurt but without crossing into dangerous territory. I rummaged through her belongings, found her phone again, and began digging. I wasn't planning to just confront her again. I wanted her to see that I knew everything, that I was one step ahead. While she was out at work, I snuck into her emails, her social media accounts, even her secret apps. It was uncomfortable, but I needed to know what I was dealing with. That's when I discovered her plans for tonight. She'd been talking to him about meeting up, about sneaking away. That's when I realized I had to escalate, not just to catch her, but to make her feel the weight of her betrayal. I started collecting evidence, screenshots, hotel reservations, messages. I wanted to be ready. When she got home that evening, I was waiting in the living room. I didn't say much, just handed her the phone and said, "I found this." Her eyes widened when she saw what I'd uncovered. Silence stretched between us. I saw her falter, her facade cracking. "I was going to tell you," she whispered, voice trembling, "but I didn't want her to get away with just a guilty confession. I wanted her to understand I was serious, that this wasn't just about breaking up, it was about justice in my own eyes." I had to devise a plan, one that would make her regret every single lie, every betrayal. My mind was already turning, plotting the next moves. Because I knew deep down this wasn't just about her cheating, it was about how much I was willing to fight for what I deserved. And I was just getting started. Over the next few days, I threw myself into planning. I couldn't trust her anymore, not after what I'd seen and uncovered. Every glance she threw my way seemed coated in guilt, and I knew I had to use that. I started gathering everything I needed: detailed evidence, a clear plan, and a way to make her see that I wasn't the kind of guy who would just let this slide. I spent long nights in my bedroom, my mind racing with ideas. I wanted her to feel the chaos she'd caused, to see that I was capable of orchestrating something that hit her where it hurt, without crossing any lines of violence or outright destruction. That's when I remembered an old trick I'd read about online, something that would make her realize I wasn't just some pushover. One evening, I slipped her a note, just a simple message: "We need to talk. Don't come home early today." She read it and looked confused, then worried. I watched her face turn pale, a flicker of panic flashing in her eyes. That's when I knew she was starting to realize I was onto her. I wanted her to feel the unease, the suspicion spiraling in her mind. I didn't tell her what I was planning, but I made sure every move was calculated. I went to her work, took photos of her leaving early, and even installed a small hidden camera in the living room. It wasn't about stalking, just about having proof that she was acting guilty, that she was hiding something. The night I chose to execute my plan, I was nervous but determined. I'd set up everything to make her think I was completely unaware. I had a fake, "if you're reading this," note already in place, and I knew exactly what I wanted her to find. I wanted her to see her betrayal laid out in front of her, proof so undeniable she couldn't deny it. I waited until she left the house. Then I went to the hotel reservation she'd made, canceled it, and took a screenshot of the confirmation. I printed it out, along with the hotel's address, and left it on the kitchen counter along with a note: "You didn't think I'd find out, but I did." Her handwriting was shaky, the words trembling. I also arranged for the camera I'd hidden to record her reaction when she returned. I watched her walk in, her purse swinging, and saw her freeze when she saw the note and the evidence. Her face went pale, her jaw tightening. I could tell she was realizing I was one step ahead of her. I knew I'd succeeded in making her uncomfortable, but I wasn't finished. I wanted her to see that I could do more, much more, if I decided to. This was just the beginning of my revenge, and I was already planning the next phase, where she'd see that I wasn't the kind of man to be played. When she finally looked at me, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and guilt, I kept my face cold. "We need to talk," I said, voice steady but hard. "And you're going to tell me everything." Her face crumpled, and I saw the cracks in her carefully constructed lies. I could feel the heat rise in my chest, a mix of anger and resolve. This was about control, about making her understand that I wasn't going to be a victim of her deceit, and I was just getting started. The confrontation was inevitable, and I knew it. Her face was a mess of guilt and panic when she finally sat across from me, eyes darting around the room, searching for an escape. I felt my jaw tighten as I looked at her. She betrayed me so thoroughly, I could barely recognize the woman I once loved. "I want the truth," I said, voice low but firm. "No more lies. Who is he? How long has this been going on?" Her hands trembled and she looked down at her lap, swallowing hard. "It was a mistake," she whispered, voice cracking. "It didn't mean anything, just a fling, I swear." I clenched my fists, feeling my palms sweat. "A mistake, that's what you call it. You've been sneaking off, hiding your phone, lying about where you're going, and all this time I was supposed to believe you. Do you even realize how much you've thrown away?" She looked up, eyes glossy with tears. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I was lonely and I don't know, it just happened. I didn't plan for it to go this far." Her voice was trembling, but I saw the flicker of guilt in her eyes, the shame she couldn't quite hide. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my cool. Inside, my stomach was twisting, my mind racing. I'd already collected evidence, screenshots, hotel reservations, even her messages from the night she met him, all laid out plain for her to see. But I needed her to feel the weight of it, see that I was serious about this. "You think a sorry is enough?" I asked, voice rising slightly. "You think I'll just forgive and forget? I've been betrayed, lied to, manipulated. You think I'm just going to sweep this under the rug?" She looked down again, silent. I knew I had to press her further to make her see that I wasn't the fool she thought I was. I had one last card to play, a way to make her understand I was capable of more than just heartbreak. I could make her regret every second of this. "You know," I said, leaning forward, "I've got everything, your messages, the hotel, the times you went out. I even found that necklace you wore the night you met him. Do you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking I could tell your friends, your family, everyone you've ever known that you're a liar and a cheat." Her eyes widened in shock, tears spilling over her cheeks. "Please don't do that, I swear. I'll end it. I'll never see him again. Just don't ruin me like that." But I was past caring about her pleas. I wanted her to feel the loss, the betrayal she'd inflicted on herself. I wanted her to see that I was capable of destruction if that's what it took. Still, I kept my voice steady, cold as steel. "It's not just about you ending it. It's about making sure you understand that you can't just walk away from what you did, because I'm not going to be the fool anymore. You messed with the wrong guy." Her silence was deafening, but I knew I had made my point. I sat back, letting her process what I just laid out, knowing this was only the beginning. The real game was about to start. I had all the evidence I needed, and I was ready to make her regret every lie, every betrayal. As she looked at me, eyes red and swollen, I could see her realization dawning. She might have thought she could cheat her way through this, but I had cut her off at the knees. And I wasn't done yet. No, I had plans of plans that would make her see that she'd messed with someone who wasn't afraid to fight back. And I was just getting started. The moment she realized I wasn't backing down, her face twisted into a mixture of desperation and fear. She was crying now, her hands clutching at her lap as if trying to hold herself together. I watched her, feeling a strange satisfaction mixed with a deep, simmering anger. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about sending a clear message. She couldn't keep betraying someone who cared that much without consequences. "I want you to understand something," I said, voice low but deliberate. "This isn't just about catching you in a lie. It's about showing you what happens when you cross a line you can't uncross. I don't care about your excuses or your tears. I care about respect, and you threw that away. You made me look like a fool." I saw her flinch at that, her lips trembling. "I never wanted to hurt you," she whispered. "I was stupid and selfish. Please." Her voice cracked into a sob. "What do you want from me?" The truth was, I'd already decided. I'd been planning this in my head for days, waiting for the right moment. Now I just had to make sure she understood I wasn't going to let her get away with it. "You want to know what I want?" I asked, leaning closer. "I want you to feel the same betrayal I did. I want you to see the pain you caused, and I want you to know that I can make your world crumble just as easily as you shattered mine." My fingers curled into fists. "So, here's what's going to happen. You're going to pack your bags and you're going to leave. I want you out of this house by tonight. And I swear, if I find out you're seeing him again, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person You really are. She looked like she wanted to argue, but her voice was broken. You're serious. Dead serious, I said. You betrayed me. That's an unforgivable sin. You don't get to come back from this, not without consequences. And this time I'm the one in control. Her face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks. Please, she begged, voice trembling. Give me a chance to fix this. I'll do anything. But I knew better. This wasn't about fixing things anymore. She made her choice, and I was going to make her regret it for good. As she stood there sobbing, I handed her a small cardboard box. Take your things and leave, I said. And don't bother coming back. You made your bed. I felt a strange relief, knowing I'd taken back some power. The house was silent as she gathered her belongings, her sobs echoing through the quiet rooms. Watching her go, I finally felt like I was regaining control, like I was reclaiming my dignity. The aftermath was exactly what I expected: heartbreak, tears, and a lot of questions from friends and family. But I was ready for that. I'd already prepared myself for the fallout. I knew I'd be judged, called bitter, or even foolish for what I did. But deep down, I didn't care. I'd done what I needed to do to protect myself, to show her that no one gets to betray someone and walk away unscathed. And as I watched her drive away, I felt a strange sense of closure. It was over, or so I told myself. But inside, I knew this wasn't just about ending a relationship. It was about finally taking control of my life again, about learning to trust myself enough not to let someone ruin me. Sometimes, it's the harshest lessons that teach us the most. That day, I learned that betrayal cuts deep, but so does the strength to fight back. And I promised myself I wouldn't let anyone do that to me again. In the days that followed, the house felt emptier than it had in years. Silence replaced the laughter and the quiet hum of everyday life. I knew the house was never going to feel the same, but somehow it was better: a fresh start, a chance to rebuild what was broken. I spent most of my time cleaning, packing away the remnants of her: photos, little trinkets, the clothes she left behind. It was cruel, maybe, but it helped me feel like I was reclaiming my space, my life. Every time I walked past the door, I felt a mixture of relief and bitterness. The betrayal had shattered a part of me, but it also taught me something crucial. I was stronger than I thought. I didn't need her validation or her lies. I could stand on my own. The revenge I'd planned wasn't just about hurting her. It was about reminding myself that I don't have to be a victim, that I deserve honesty and respect. One quiet afternoon, I decided to take the final step. I grabbed her keys from the hook by the door and walked to the front porch. I looked at them for a moment, feeling the weight in my hand. Then I walked to the mailbox, opened it, and slid the keys inside. I closed it gently, watching as they disappeared into the darkness. That act felt symbolic, a farewell to her, to the past, and to the life I thought I knew. I took a deep breath, feeling the air fill my lungs, and finally let out the breath I'd been holding. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace. The anger and hurt still lingered, but they no longer defined me. I'd taken control, and I'd chosen to move forward. Looking around the empty house, I reflected on everything that had happened. Betrayal is a brutal teacher, but it also forces you to see your own strength. I learned how far I could push myself, how much I could endure, and how important it is to stand up for your dignity, no matter how hard it gets. The scars will stay, sure, but so will the lessons. In the end, I realized that revenge isn't about destroying someone else. It's about reclaiming yourself. It's about taking back your power and making sure that betrayal doesn't define your future. I may have lost her, but I gained something even more valuable: clarity, resilience, and a renewed sense of self-worth. So I locked the door behind me, turned the key in my palm, and stepped into the sunlight. I didn't look back. From now on, I knew better. I knew I deserved better. And that, to me, was the greatest victory of all.